Hello everyone and welcome to another game from the AirThings Masters. This is the second match, Andrey Esipenko versus Nepomniachtchi, and this is, well, it just went terribly wrong for one of the players as pretty much as soon as they left the safety of the waters of known theory. So let's dive straight into it and see what happened. So Esipenko with the white pieces opens with e4. This is game 2, game 1 ended in a draw, and we're going to discuss a little bit about the other results after the game. So e5 by Nepo, knight to f3, we have knight to c6 and bishop to b5. Esipenko goes for the Ruy Lopez, we have a6, Morphy's defense, bishop to a4, and now knight to f6. We are in the Columbus variation, we have castles and bishop to e7, d3. We have b5 challenging the bishop, bishop b3, d6 and c3. So all very, very standard stuff, nothing new here happening. Castles and now h3. We have bishop to b7, getting the bishop on this long diagonal, bishop to c2, and now rook to e8. So again, nothing new happening here. Rook to e1, and now bishop to f8. The standard idea here, knight b to d2, and here we have knight to e7. And this is now a new move already now as of move 12, which for Ruy Lopez is very impressive. So here Esipenko goes after the queen side, as one usually does against this setup. So a4, we have knight to g6. Now the knight might have some ideas of coming to f4, and now knight to f1. Now this knight can come to e3 to g3, and also the bishop now covers f4. So as the nothing is really defending the d5 square, we have the early d5 by Nepo, and now comes knight to g3. Here you probably have to go for the very sharp d4, and then everything just gets traded off with a pretty much equal position. But Esipenko goes knight to g3, as that f5 square is looking very, very appealing to the white knight. But now c5, and look at this beautiful expansion now Nepo has in the center. And again, probably you have to just go for trades here. Captures, captures, captures on a8, queen captures, and now play something like maybe h4, h5, with it not being all that impressive for white because you simply allowed all of this for black. But again, it's much better than what actually happened in the game. Here, Esipenko played bishop to d2, and now Nepo gets a couple of moves in. We have h6, and now he goes for b4. So a different plan than going for that trade. c4 by Nepo, and this will now be a problem for white because it's very hard to get rid of this pawn, and well, it just creates a very strong outpost for black on the d3 square once the position clears up. So d captures on c4, b captures on c4, and now e captures on d5. We have queen captures on d5. Now you have to be careful. If the knight moves, you might get checkmated on g2, so the knight for the moment can't go anywhere. And here, white plays bishop captures on g6. Yes, it's a way to double black's pawns, and it seems like something you should do, but maybe there are some better moves like bishop to e3, quickly go for that queen trade, and for the endgame as soon as possible. But okay, bishop captures on g6 was played, f captures on g6, and only now bishop to e3, but now queen to f7, and this is a very nice square for the black queen that was not available before the trade on g6, as you will see. So queen to f7, now comes knight to d2, and of course knight to d5, now just putting pressure on white's position, and later on you will play rook a to d8 and bring the rook to d3. For the moment, not all that much white can do about this. So here we have knight g to e4, defending the c3 pawn like this, but now not a knight captures here, but rather knight to f4, where you could go for bishop captures on f4, but that just seems like giving too much to black because the bishop is here, pawn can come to f3, the rook and queen doing good work here. If the knight moves, even bishop to d6 might be an option in the future. So here probably f3 has to be played, and then rook a to d8, and look at black's setup. It's just very, very enjoyable. So instead, after knight to f4, we have f3. Andrey just defends the knight on e4, and now rook a to d8. Of course, we put the rook on the d file, the queen is still on d1, and we want to get the rook to d3. So here, queen c2, unpinning, and now rook to d3. So just a beautiful, beautiful position for black. And white probably should play something like b5, create a pass pawn, and then figure out where to go from there. But in the game, Esipenko completely missed the threat black prepared here. He played knight to f2. He wanted to kick away the rook from d3, but now the position is completely lost for Esipenko. So feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Nepo while I give you a couple of seconds. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that you can actually eliminate all of the defenders of the f3 pawn. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook captures on d2. So, congratulations to everyone who found this. It is not easy to see through all of this mess. And now you have to react to this. You have to capture the rook, and it doesn't really matter what you capture the rook with. So, here, bishop captures on d2 was played. And now, again, we remove the defender of the f3 pawn. Knight captures on g2. Beautiful stuff here by Nepo. The problem is if king captures, then it's just, well, queen captures on f3 with check, king to f1. Now we go for the king hunt, queen g2 check, king has to go to e2. Now bishop f3 check, forcing the king up the board as the bishop now covers d1, king to e3, and now we free up the f3 square for the black queen. We're threatening checkmate here, and not a lot white can do to stop this. You can try something like knight g4, but then bishop e7, bishop to g5 is coming, and that's game. So that would happen if the knight is actually accepted. So here Esipenko tried rook to e4, and it's a valiant attempt, as well, bishop captures on e4 would go a long way, but of course Nepo not interested in that. He just plays queen captures on f3, still keeps all the pressure here along this diagonal, and well, just asks, so what do you play here with white? We have rook to g4. Now at least the rook will be guarding the g2 square, the knight will be guarding the h1 square, so maybe you won't get checkmated that quickly, and you are going for queen captures on g6. So maybe there is some counterplay here. So here h5, asking what do you do with the rook, and it's again not easy. Once the rook moves, for example, if you move it to g5, we're gonna play knight to h4, and again, such an ugly position for white. Not a lot of moves for white, and the simple, for example, e4, e3 is enough for black to win the game. So here, Esipenko tries queen captures on g6, now offering a rook here, but Jan just plays knight to f4. He attacks the queen here. Puts again a lot of pressure on on white's position, and the thing is, if you move the queen, then knight captures on h3 with a nice royal fork. Fork here. Also, the knight is included in the fork. I don't know if this fork has a name, a queen, a knight, and the knight fork. Maybe it does. I'm not sure. But after knight captures on h3, we're just gonna capture on g4, and again, there's no move here for white. So instead, after knight to f4, rook captures on f4 was played. Esipenko would very gladly give up some material to just alleviate the pressure, but now e captures on f4, and okay, for the moment the knight and queen covering all the important squares, so you don't get checkmated. But now after bishop captures on f4, we have rook to e2, and it was in this position on move 32 that Esipenko resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Problem is, if you defend the knight here, let's say we play something like queen to g3, we just play rook captures on f2. And that's it. There's no way to play this, because if you capture with the queen, you get checkmated. Queen to h1 is checkmate, and if you don't, if you capture the queen, we just capture back, and now we are up a full piece. There's no compensation here for white. And another thing, let's say after rook to e2, you don't play queen g3, you play something else. You can play bishop to g3, then the queen no longer guards the g2 square. Of course, you just get checkmated. So nothing works here, and after rook to e2, Esipenko resigned the game. If you guys are interested what happened next, I will now mention. So for those of you who still don't want to know the results of the other games, don't listen to any further. But Magnus won his match against Artemiev. He won game 1 and game 2, and then game 3 ended in a draw. Artemiev was pushing a little bit, but nothing really serious happened in there. So Magnus was the first one to qualify for the finals, and here after game 2, Nepo also won game 3, and as game 1 ended in a draw, that means Nepo advances to the finals. And in the finals of the AirThings Masters, we will have another clash after the World Chess Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi. So we'll see what happens. Only this will not be decided in one day, like all the matches so far, but it will be over 2 days, over Friday and Saturday. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really wild stuff here. So many pieces here. Very easy to miss this idea. But who would hope that you could actually remove all of the defenders of the f3 pawn? But that's exactly what you have to look for. And that's how you will find attacking chances like Nepo did in this game. So yeah, once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Ryan Urban, Cloud Strife, Andrey Theron, Cypherkicks, and Leo Joel Born for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the finals until it ends. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.